Hey, hello everybody, I am Mango Thunderslice, and today's video is God, Material Illusion, Spiritual Reality, and Beneficial Field Physics. And I've been ruminating on this video for about 3 weeks, and I figure I'll just take a stab at it today. Today is episode 369, so I'll start off by talking a little bit about sympathetic resonance and lead into some other things. You know, sympathetic resonance is basically, it's like the principle of when a frequency or a sound vibrates in tune with something, right? And like when the glass shatters, like when you have a certain tone and it shatters the window or shatters a glass, but it doesn't have to shatter it at a proper tone. The glass will start singing in resonance with that signal, right? And there is a signal going throughout the universe, being broadcast throughout the universe, and there are those who are in sympathetic resonance with it, and there are those who are in dissonance with it, right? And those who are casting actually a false signal, who are trying to break the glass, so to speak, because, you know, it's easier for them to pick up the pieces and gather them to themselves if they can just shatter the glass in a sort of metaphorical sense. But, you know, Tesla once said, if you could understand the secret of 369, which is today's episode, then you would understand the secrets of the universe, or something like that. But, you know, in my opinion, he was talking about sympathetic resonance, and he was talking about the numeric structure of the universe, right? Numbers are not just values, they are identities. And if you could see how those identities govern everything, right? The elemental structure, there's really, we've given names to all these elements, but they're really just numbers, right? They're just numbers of protons within the nucleus. And there's different, ions which have different electron values, but it's all just basically a sequence of numbers of the indivisible particle, which is the hydrogen atom, which is one proton and one electron. And essentially, you know, we're at this fulcrum, this inflection point of history, you know, probably quite easily, arguably the biggest one that's ever been, which is quite a claim because we've had many very large inflection points throughout all of human history. And it's just so clear right now of those who are in sympathetic resonance with the cosmic signal, with the signal of the creator, versus those who are in dissonance with it and who are basically resonating with a false signal. And the physical manifestations of that are also very clear, of those who are aging gracefully versus those who are aging very quickly, of those who are constantly in a state of anger and rage and hatred and envy and greed and fear, versus those who are in a state of love and appreciation, gratitude, productivity, and just a grace, right? A state of peace. And it's not to say that, you know, there's not a cosmic battle to be fought. There definitely is, but how one fights that very much defines which signal they are resonating with. And, you know, the media is out there to propagate the false signal. Again, it may have always been that way, but it's never been more clear than it is now. And as speaking of material illusions, it took me 2 years to bring myself to do it, but I finally watched episode 9 of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. I had to basically put it off for so long because I had listened to many people who had watched it and reviewed it say that it was absolutely terrible and it was the final death knell of Star Wars. And, you know, I always really liked Star Wars back when it was just episodes 1 through 6, right? A lot of people hated episodes 1 through 3, and they weren't fantastic, but I still liked them. I was a little kid when they came out, and they all came out on my birthday, so it was just something that I have fond memories about. And episodes 7 and 8 were pretty bad, like, you know, but there were at least, I don't know, I guess some sort of redeeming values. They were pretty bad in retrospect, but, you know, they at least had some sort of novelty to them. But episode 9 was just, my mind is still reeling from how bad it was. It was literally the worst movie I think I've ever seen, which is astounding because I've watched a fair amount of like made-for-TV movies, low production value, just terrible screenwriting. But I could write a better script than episode 9 of Star Wars on a ketamine binge with half my brain missing. It is really that bad. The woke ideology has replaced all screenwriting and literary ability at every single level. The entire structure now serves to broadcast this false signal rather than entertain even at all. It's the most vapid and inane nonsense I can possibly even imagine. And even beyond Star Wars, right? Everything, there's no such thing as, you know, I mean, there are good books out there. There could be good movies being made, and there's people who are trying to make them. But unless you're basically promoting the LGBT agenda or some other woke ideology, so this commie program, then it's just not going to get made. And it's just really tiring at a certain point. But again, you have to disconnect from that false signal and just see it for what it is and step aside. Because if your prime inspiration and motivation and value and will to move forward is coming from the media, then their corrupting influence will bear very heavily on you. But if your inspiration comes from God and from Christ and from that natural spiritual force that is ingrained within nature, then you can separate and disconnect very easily, and you don't really need those influences in order to keep yourself moving forward. You can self-regenerate in that beneficial field, right? There is this field that the Creator created, right? The earth is a prime example of that creative field, and it is all electrical in nature. There's electricity flowing throughout the entire universe, like mycelium, of like the fungus in the soil, right, that is nurturing all the different nodal points, which we know as the plants and the trees and all the different things that are above the soil. To us, that's the metaphor of like the planet, and this physical reality is above the soil, but beneath the soil there is the mycelium, there is the connecting web, right, the cosmic grid. And it is a longitudinal power transmission grid. It is breathing life into all the different points of physical reality. And the earth, again, is just a perfect example of that beneficial field and that creative, energetic force that is pulsing with energy and generating life as a result. The entire universe serves to generate life. And it is an influence of the positive and the negative, of the masculine and the feminine, right? There is absolutely a Father God to this universe. And there is also a Mother Nature. And between Father God and Mother Nature, there is the creation of all the children, of all the different, physical and metaphysical, spiritual undergirding forces which continue to propagate this sphere and govern all the happenings within it. And, this is a continuation of the last video because, again, I think that so much value was encoded within, J.R.R. Tolkien's work and the Lord of the Rings saga. And it's interesting because, a lot of it was revealed in the last book of the Silmarillion, which isn't even part of the Lord of the Rings technically, but it's basically where he just went into the whole legendarium of elucidating and enunciating upon all of the different, the mythical aspects, the lore of Lord of the Rings. And explaining, to an average person, it would probably be an extremely boring read. And I haven't actually read it. I've just read a lot of the Lord of the Rings wiki articles, which are expounded out from that book. But the god of the Lord of the Rings is Eru Ilúvatar, right? And he created essentially the song of the universe, right? I forget what it's called, the music of the heavens, the music of the spheres, and created essentially a set of angels, which are known as the Valar, and then there's the lesser angels, which are known as the Maiar, and they govern essentially all the different aspects of reality. And, this plays into the Lord of the Rings saga, but the thing that I want to really harp on is the aspect of music being the governing aspect of the universe, that these entities were created by God to manage this creation and the different aspects, and how this basically plays into the physical world, and where basically we get these notions of angels and demons. And in the Celtic mythology, there's many gods and deities that govern different parts of nature. And as the Church of Rome expanded and took command of all these different realms, they basically cast aside anything that was not within its own program and dogma as satanic and devil worship. And perhaps this is a good day to harp on the subject, given that yesterday was the Super Bowl, and during the halftime they had another hymnal to crass materialism and grand satanic mass worshiping the Antichrist, right? It's like they don't even try and hide it anymore. It literally opens with this fallen, dark Christ character lowered from the roof of the stadium, and then all these basically like singing characters with red eyes, and basically The Weeknd is the musical performer, and I absolutely hate The Weeknd's music. I always have. It's absolutely terrible. The people who like that music are definitely resonating with the false signal, and definitely not resonating with the signal emanated by the creator of the universe. And it's again, for those who let their children resonate with this material program, resonate with the media, they're basically casting them to the wolves, and they're sacrificing their children to Moloch, and it is absolutely a sacrificial process to let your children be raised up in this material reality to be educated in the public school system, to be instructed by the television and the media, and brought up again in all the global homo nonsense of just completely abrogating and destroying all the natural structures that were set up by the creator. Now even gender, again, no news here that gender has been under attack, and the mere notion of a binary masculine and feminine universe is now basically some sort of patriarchal form of oppression, right? The different races among the world now have to be mashed all together for the sake of basically just taking out the song of the universe, right? Every person and every group has their own part to play in this universe, and you don't make the music any better by mashing all of the notes together and playing them all at once. Maybe you can play a few at a time. It's called a chord, right? But to play all of them all at once is discord. It is just nonsense, just noise. It's just a blaring just sound, and it doesn't please anyone except those, again, who would seek to destroy the music for their own ulterior purposes. And yeah, I mean, what is interesting again is that the stories that we have to go by have been corrupted. I just hope that Lord of the Rings, I hope the intellectual property for Lord of the Rings is under lock and key, and they don't try and remake that with some sort of woke bullshit and sell it to Disney like they did with Star Wars. I have to believe that there's more of a close-guarded intellectual property there with the Tolkien family trust or whatnot than there was with Star Wars, because Star Wars, even to begin with, was supposedly all of the actors in the original Star Wars, they had to be inducted in like a magic ritual and established as wizards and witches and whatnot. And of course, Hollywood is a giant black magic cesspit, as most of you probably are aware. And now we're at the point again where people are literally being vaccinated. We have people wearing masks. I'm still expecting to wake up from this dream. I still can't believe that we're just so easily sliding into this new world order, into this just delusional reality where people just, I don't know, they accede to the will of experts who are not experts at all. And the story can change on a whim, just like 1984. And as soon as the story changes, all of the old information goes out the window, right? This time last year, Joe Biden was saying that it's racist to institute travel bans from Africa, and now he's literally expanded and extended it to South Africa, right? The narrative can change on a dime, and people who are jacked into the matrix will accept of it without question. It's really astounding. And again, that's the resonance with the false field, with the false signal. And those who are, again, resonating with the true signal of the universe, they have that memory, they have that continuity, they can see these vagaries and this random swerving in real time, and they call out its hypocrisy, and they get chastised as conspiracy theorists. But ultimately, again, there is a productive endeavor here. There is something more to be said than just pointing out the hypocrisy of the left and the Democrats and all the different, rhinos and all the different aspects of this material reality. That there is a spiritual reality that I've spoken about in many, many videos, and there is this aspect of the beneficial field of ether physics, and that even among the right side, so to speak, there is so much more to be done here than just trusting the plan and praying, and just hoping and waiting for things to happen. You really have to be taking action every single day and understanding that it's not just physical action, but metaphysical action. Things like they're spraying the sky again today. It was very beautiful yesterday. It's like on cue. Whenever it's a very beautiful Oregon sky, they have to send the planes out and spray the sky. And I've been watching some presentations by Paul Babcock from the Energy Science Technology Conference, basically the modern free energy movement. And he's a very interesting fellow. He talks, he's very into free energy technology, but also very grounded in this spiritual reality that I'm discussing. And, is very very clear on that if people want to accept free energy technology and move into this world of limitless potential in a physical sense, they're really going to have to upgrade their beliefs in a spiritual sense and understand that there are many different aspects of this world that have been brought forward to deceive us. And it's not just the media, it's not just the satanic program, the aspect of religion itself, right? Again, the Church of Rome and many of the churches that emerged in rebellion to the Church of Rome are all controlled. And people are so cut off from their connection to the natural world. But again, I think it's not an idle observation to point out that nearly all of Jesus's metaphors were all agricultural metaphors in nature, and that he had the mind of a druid if he wasn't a druid, in outward form. And he understood that the clearest example that is obvious to everyone, if they had their eyes to see and ears to hear, is the nature of the growth in this world, of the creation of life, again, of the interacting between the sun and the earth, of that electrical field, and the creation of life as the purpose of God. That this is created as a sandbox for us to play around and to learn how to be like God, how to learn willingly in our free will to create things in sympathetic resonance with this creation, with God's creation. And so it really is, that very much entails a knowledge of the natural world and also of physics and chemistry and biology. And we can always be learning more things. We can always be creating more things. And those who are focusing their time, energy, and willpower every single day in learning and creating those things, there's no really going wrong there. You will find some path to apply that knowledge, to apply that willpower, to apply that spiritual position. But those who are literally just wasting each and every day playing video games and watching TV and watching movies and trusting to plan and basically just watching these bobbling heads on TV or listening to any of the establishment media figures, it is all basically pouring energy down the drain. It is dissonant resonance. It will not actually create anything greater than the sum of the parts, right? Whereas sympathetic resonance can actually amplify the signal. You can actually become more powerful than you otherwise would be by moving in resonance with that signal. As I've said, surfing the great wave. We are in a time where so much energy is coming into this system. And to those who can actually move within it, it is akin to surfing a wave. That you could try and swim, you could be the best swimmer on earth, but you will never swim as fast and as hard as if you were riding a wave, right? And another metaphor is that you can try and burn your fire as bright as the sun, but ultimately you'll never be as bright as if you were just a mirror holding the mirror to the sun. That to just be in a state of grace and be in alignment with the creative force and potential of the universe is the most powerful position you can possibly inhabit. And in the Lord of the Rings, to return to that saga, that Aragorn basically is ultimately just one man, supposedly, a remnant of the the legacy of Atlantis, the Dunedain. But ultimately, all that his greatest strength is just in holding his mirror to the sun and just in resonating with that beneficial field. And in doing so, becomes the leader of the people of Middle-earth and leads them to victory over the forces of evil. And the main difference between the orcs and the goblins and the free races of Middle-earth, right, the elves and the dwarves and the men and the hobbits and the ants, I guess, is that basically the orcs are enslaved races, right? The goblins are enslaved races. They don't have free will. They exist merely as accessories to the power of Sauron, to the power of Satan, to the power of the dark forces in this world. And, we do have choice, and many of us make poor choices. Many of us choose to be enslaved. Many of us choose to lead others into enslavement and tell them that it's something beneficial, or it's something that's anti-racist, or something that's tolerant, or, non-judgmental, and all of this other nonsense. But ultimately, there are still those of us who choose to resonate with the creative power of the universe and choose to enunciate that and choose to lead others as much as they can into that beneficial field so that they can regenerate themselves and continue to live in a world that is accommodative to the creations of man, right? With the hobbits even themselves, not the ones who necessarily lead the forces into battle against evil, but they love things that grow. The hobbits are the gardeners of the world, and ultimately, again, it is the strength of hobbits that destroys the One Ring of power. And it's those who are simply in connection with the garden and the things that grow in this world that, we don't necessarily, again, need to lead ourselves into a giant battle against the forces of Satan. On a spiritual plane, that is what's happening. But on a physical plane, it's really just about tending the garden. And it's about being in communion with that natural world and understanding that within that natural world is the spirit of the Creator. And, that's, I guess, the brunt of the video. Again, I took a long time to make this because I don't necessarily have a very pointed message with this one today, but I very much feel that it's something that needs to be enunciated. Again, just watching the Super Bowl halftime show and seeing, again, how brazenly satanic the media is at this point, and how there's literally not even a impetus to entertain anymore. It's literally just to lecture and to indoctrinate. And at the same time that you can't even send your kids to school without vaccinating them, they're saying that you need to wear 2, 3, 4, 5 masks. Again, I said like several weeks ago that I thought as a joke that the next thing would be, the next virtue signal would be wearing 2 masks. And now it's not even a joke. They're literally saying that you need to wear 2 masks, and that next thing they'll be saying 3. And it's just insane. None of these people seem to remember that the purpose of the mask, even on the surface, is not to protect the wearer. It's to protect the other people, right? So wearing 2 masks, they're saying, it clears that much more particles out of the air. You're not being protected by a mask, period. Even on the surface, you're supposedly protecting other people, which itself is not proven. And so it doesn't really matter, as long as it keeps your sneeze and cough particles from getting on other people, then it's supposedly effective. But it's just really bizarre, again, how many otherwise smart people have been totally deceived by narrative, have been totally brought in by that false signal. And, even people who otherwise seem to be very connected to the natural world, right? People who are good at gardening and to, go and connect with nature by going and swimming and running and being out and breathing fresh air, they still don't quite get the spiritual reality that undergirds this material world. And they're still just idly playing in the sandbox, but haven't really learned the meaning of the structure and the meaning of the entire sandbox, the meaning of the garden. But, everything will be revealed in due time. And hopefully you all are doing well and building your own, foundation and castle on which to basically make a stand either now or in the future. And, let me know how you guys are doing. I haven't made too many videos lately, and I'll keep making videos, again, not for trying to become YouTube famous, but just to keep that resonance out there. That, there's not too many people speaking in this line. And, I feel that it's just beneficial to keep the message going, keep the fire burning, so that those, who are looking for that sort of signal and reminder that they're not alone in this fight can keep on going. So anyway, hope you guys are doing well, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Ah.